Okay, welcome to Skill of the Week, and today we are going to learn how to do poured ceramics. And ceramics are just using plaster molds and slip, which is liquid clay, to create a sculpture of sorts, or a bowl or a plate or something like that. So when you do your poured ceramics, you're going to select the mold that you want to do. This one right here is labeled lidded oval box, and we're going to try 3 of them today. This one is the Holy Family, and I'm only going to do the little baby Jesus. And this one is little drummer boy and baby, and I'm only going to do the baby because I'm testing out the sizes of the baby. Now, you might notice the types of molds, okay? This one you can tell is quite a bit older. This one is a little bit newer, just because the tones are a little bit different, okay? This one's in better shape. And this one, it's probably in between, okay? But you can see that there's stuff inside, and we'll be cleaning it. Now, the reason why I showed you the age of the mold is because when you're doing poured ceramics, the older the mold, the longer it takes for the clay to dry and start pulling away from the sides. So you have to watch it a little bit longer. The newer it is, the faster you can pull it out of the mold. Okay, so after you've selected your molds, you're going to clean them out with a soft brush, and I've got a couple of paint brushes here that are specifically for this, and I like to just brush them out and make sure there's no old clay sticking inside. If you were the previous one to use this, you want to make sure that you don't have any pieces of clay attached to the inside of the mold. Okay, so I'm going to just show you this one. This is what the inside of the mold looks like. It's the little sculptures, okay? And they fit together very carefully like this, okay? And then you're going to rubber band them together. Now you want to select rubber bands that are going to fit tightly, okay? And you want to test them first, because if they get old and brittle, they'll break, and then they'll let all of your slip go flying out, okay? So, and we have had that happen. You want them to fit snug, and I like to usually choose 2 going around both directions. Okay, and since I'm pouring the little baby Jesus, that's on this side, so I need to allow room for the hole. So I'm going to leave that hole open. Okay, and then I'm going to do this one, and I selected these 2 rubber bands. They're smaller than the mold, but they stretch to larger. This one's starting to get a little bit brittle, but it should be okay. Okay, and the inside of this mold looks like this. Okay, carefully put those together. You don't want to be slamming them around because they are plaster, so they will be delicate. You can't just be banging them around, because otherwise you can chip pieces off of them, and then they aren't very useful anymore because they end up spilling things out. Okay, I think that, yep. Okay, so that's the hole that I'll be pouring in. And then this one, oh, I forgot to clean this mold. Make sure there's no dust in there. Glad I looked at that. That had some stuff in it. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then this one, it is a lidded bowl. So we're just going to clean that all out. Now, the last person who used this did not clean it very well, so it's got some clay chipping off of it. Hopefully that's not going to affect the pouring of the mold. But you definitely don't want to try to scrape old clay out. You want to wipe it out with a damp sponge or something like that, because if you try and scrape it, remember that this is plaster, and you'll actually gouge into, and this has been gouged into, so we'll see that in the final mold. Okay. Sometimes you just have to blow it out a little bit. Okay. And then you make these match. Okay, so these little nubs here will go on top of the indentations. And let's see. This one should go here. This one's going to be a more difficult one to put on. So sometimes it helps to have a friend hold it for you while you're, oops, see, so you can see it just went all the way through. While you're putting the rubber band on, sometimes they can be just a little bit difficult. Okay, put it this way. Because you want them nice and snug. Okay, there we go. All right, so this one's crossed like that. Okay, I think I'll move the camera just a little bit closer so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour the oldest one first, which is probably this one, I'm guessing. This one looks like it keeps getting dust in it. Okay. And I'm going to stir the slip first. Okay. And you want the slip to look kind of like the consistency of chocolate milk that you buy at the store. It's kind of got that thick, but not too thick, kind of feel and texture. You can see it in the bucket that it's really got a silky look to it. Okay, and I'll show you when I get it stirred. But you want to not feel any of the sludge at the bottom. You want it to be fully incorporated into the slip. Okay. And I like just putting the spoon on the lid so that it doesn't drip all over the table. And then you take a clean tub and you scoop it out. I forgot to get my pitcher. Okay, I have my pouring pitcher here. You scoop the slip from the bucket into the pouring pitcher. Okay. And then I just put this on the lid again. Okay, so now we're going to carefully pour it. Now it's kind of hard with this particular pitcher. It doesn't have a really great spout. So we have to get down close and carefully pour very slowly. If you pour too fast, you'll cause air bubbles. But if you pour too slow, you'll cause lines. Okay, it's already to the top, and it came pretty quickly. So I want to show you really quick. Okay, there's a little bead on the top. Okay, here's the hole right here. And you can see it starting to sink down already. That just means that the clay is evaporating and starting to attach to the sides of the plaster. And we'll be topping that off a little bit at a time. And we can top that off with another container. So I could get this ready and have a little slip ready so I can top off that. See, it's already coming down in here. So I'm just going to top it off just a little bit. Ooh, it's hard to do though. I need a better pitcher, but you can bend it. There, I'm just pushing it over into it. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of set this to the side and keep an eye on it, and I'll do this one next. Make sure it's clean before I start pouring, and I'm going to go ahead and pour the larger section first. And I'm pouring it slowly, but not too slowly, okay? If you pour it way too fast, then you'll have air bubbles and lines, and it'll just not look good at all. And sometimes these larger molds take quite a bit of slip because you have to fill the entire thing up. And so you might have to refill your pitcher. I think I'll refill this one before I pour the lid. And I'm watching that little drummer boy one, and it's starting to sink down, so I'm going to have to top that off before going to the next one. Okay, so this is at the top. I'm going to top this one off. There we go. And then I'm going to fill my pitcher up again. Before I pour this one. Okay. Okay. Close to the top. I'm going to stop that. This one needs topped off just a little bit. I can see that a skin is starting to form. So I don't want it to get too dry there. This one's starting to pull down a little bit more, but has eased off, so I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. And I'm going to pour this Holy Family one. I don't think I have another pitcher, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to pour it with this one. But I'm going to get it down here really close. There, it worked pretty good. Ooh, and it filled up fast. Okay, so we're going to watch these. I'm going to put the camera over here so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so you can see that's kind of dipping down in. I'm going to have to top it off here pretty soon. This one is taking longer because it's an older mold. Okay, it's going to take a little while. This one is already, oops, there we go, starting to show that it's dipping down. So I'm going to pour some more into that one. Oh no. This one is about ready, so I'm going to go ahead and top that off just a little bit. There. And then you're going to be using the rubber spatula, so it doesn't scrape into our molds, to clean off any excess clay right away, after it kind of dries a little bit, because you can see it's almost like a skin here. And you can just drop that back into the bucket, because it will, once it incorporates back into the clay again, it'll just absorb the liquid in there and go back to usable clay. Now, if it's too dry, you definitely don't want to put it in there, because it'll take too long, and then the next person that comes along to pour will have chunks in their slip, and that you don't want that to happen. So that's looking pretty good. Ooh, this one I have to pour down again. You can see it happens pretty quickly. This one is moving pretty fast. Now you want this skin to form to create the actual structure that's going to support the sculpture or the bowl or whatever it is that you're pouring. Okay, so that one looks like it might be topped off here pretty soon, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to shut the camera off, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I'm getting ready to pour the clay out.